Mr. Felly, that's the first question I have. Does anyone in the world call you anything besides Felly and it's cool with you?
Most of my friends call me Fel, Chris. Girls will call me Christian. And if I'm like being scolded or something, or it's usually turns to Christian, that's just usually how it goes. But it's mostly Fel.
I like to know that kind of stuff, that name drop alert. When I interviewed Youngblood, for example, I said, by the way, just what do I call you? Like, I can't go, hey, Youngblood. And he's like, well, Dominic. There you go. So, Felly, thank you for taking the time. The first question I have for you is you got a really cool logo, and it reminds me of the Slash Records logo. Is that a pure coincidence?
That is probably a coincidence. I didn't send that one as far, like I sent a bunch of old rock and roll type inspirations to my boy who does logos and all that type of shit. And I was like, just make something timeless, make something raw, gritty. And he came back with 10, and that was my favorite one. So
it's a cool looking logo for sure. And looking behind you, sorry to pry here, we see a Hofner Beetle bass on the wall there. It looks like there's a Whirly on the other side of you. So it's kind of true what they're saying. Or is that a Fender Rhodes?
That's a Rhodes. That's a Seafoam Green Fender Rhodes.
That is a rarity right there. So clearly you're a student of the rock and roll game, but rock is not all you listen to. Has that always been the case, that you've been to a bit of everything?
I like that you know your shit. You got to, I guess. I'm like more so getting into that world. Like, I mean, I always grew up listening to that, but like I kind of started with what was accessible to me first, which is sort of just like a mic and a laptop, like a lot of kids. And I wasn't like a big singer, and I couldn't really play guitar. So I was just like, all right, we'll make beats, we'll sample things, we'll write and rap. That's what I could do, and that's what was in front of me. So I feel like I've like done as much as I kind of want to in that world of just like in the box recording. And now I'm sort of trying to think like, let's take it back to like Red Hot Chili Peppers times, recording some tape. Like that's sort of where I'm like, that's where I want to go. On this album that I'm about to drop, it's got like a few hints of that, and it has like the seed of that. But I could see like the future of what I want to do. But yeah.
Have you always played a bit of every instrument? I asked that because when I was growing up, in the olden days, no, I'm kidding. I'm probably like 12 years older than you, whatever it is. People didn't really play everything. Like, it was a whole big deal. Like, oh my God, Dave Grohl played everything on that first Foo Fighters record except a guitar solo. Oh my God. And now everyone seems to play a bit of everything because home recording taught them, or they learned patches and, hey, this is what it sounds like on the drum pad. Therefore, if my finger drumming can do this, I can play a drum kit properly. In your case, how did that all evolve?
Yeah, I think it's largely about like necessity. Like when like the other option is to just suck and not have guitar or not have something like that. So it's like if you're here alone, like you're gonna have to figure it out, because like even drums, like I have a kit set up over there. It's kind of in pieces right now, but I've been like programming my own drums and shit, because it's like I have other drummers, but they're not always here, and I'm always creating. So you're going to learn drums, and you're going to get that down. And if not, you're going to figure out how to make it sound like it sounds good. So yeah, I mean, I think I dabble with a little bit of everything. Like I got a lap steel coming today.
Really?
A harmonica on the way. Got one of those old aesthetic, like almost like Elvis mics for a harmonica.
Totally.
From like the 50s or something. I don't even know. But just trying to like explore the sounds, and you could kind of get caught up because you could be like, let's just keep it simple. Like all I really need is a beat and a mic. All I need is one mic, as Nas says. But
yes,
but really it's kind of turned into, no, I want like a bunch of shit. Like it's endless. So get a lap steel in here, get like all sorts of different things. Like it's just natural progression, I feel like. And it's like, I don't know, the Beatles picked up the sitar at some point. It's like it's just fun. Like it's expensive and great. It's like the best way to spend money, in my opinion.
are you that creative in any other fields of art, or does music just get everything out of you?
I think I'm like that creative as far as like just how I think and see the world. But I'm not in sort of photos and videos, but sometimes like I'll try to transfer it to like painting or something. Like I can paint a little bit. Like I painted a couple of these things over here, but I painted that thing, that one right there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always translate.
Well, I find you to be a really personality-driven artist. So I see somebody like you who can do a bit of everything, and I go, that guy clearly will be hosting a travel show in the next 5 years where he's on tour and that kind of thing. In other words, that's the personality I see for you, that you could be a comedy writer, you could be a travel show host. You don't give off the vibe of all this guy can do is play songs in his apartment and that's all he does.
That's hilarious. A comedy writer, I don't know about, but I could definitely go Anthony Bourdain. I would love to do that. I feel like I already do that, and then it's just like, all right, well, do a show over here. But yeah, I'm open like to the world. I just like open up to it. So whatever happens, happens.
Sure. So is it public knowledge that you signed with 300, or is that going to be announced? We'll edit around that if it's not publicly known.
Yeah, I just actually announced it on Monday on my Instagram. I was gonna do like a big like, I'm signed, I'm so grateful, thank you to the fans and all that shit. And I was just like, I just mentioned it. I was like, yeah, I signed to them. Like, let's keep it going. Like, there's music coming. Like the fans don't really need to know. It doesn't matter that much. Like, it's more of like my personal life and like the people around me. That's valuable information to them because they're like, you know, who are the people you're talking with every day and interacting with and who's helping you.
Mm-hmm.
But to the fans, I just want to keep it like, it's about the music and me communicating with them. And like, it's like right here, not like, here's my friend. I brought my friend. It's like going on a date and the chick has her like friends and you're like, I want to talk to you. Like, you know, like that's how I feel like the relationship is.
Fair. Well, you stand out from the roster, and I mean that in a great way. In a way, it reminds me of when Bad Boy Entertainment was at its peak and it signed a power pop band called Fuzz Bubble. And ultimately, that album didn't come out. They spent a fortune on this really good rock band, didn't come out per se. Obviously, that's not happening to you because you've already gotten out music through 300. But people are like, but this is a hip hop label. Why are you signing that? In your case, originally 300, unless I'm incorrect, started off as this is a hip hop thing. And then it grew to, well, anything we want to put out, that's what we're going to put out. So did you know right away 300 was the fit?
After talking with the guy, like it wasn't really about like the artists and all that, because like I just don't really like, I'm still exploring, and I'm sure a lot of those artists are still exploring, like Thug. Like
Mm-hmm.
Thug has done a country album. Like he's predominantly hip hop, but like he's not one to be put in a box. I kind of felt the same, and I felt like they, just talking with the team and shit, they recognized that. And trust me, I asked them about that. I was like, so on my second or third album, when I'm like not making any hip hop music, like, are y'all gonna fuck with me? And they're like, yeah, like we love, like we'd go, please do that. And like, it was actually, it was funny because a lot of the label people were pushing me to go more towards my alt sound because they're just seeing like it was like more natural to me. They're like, don't make hip hop just to do 300, you know, just to be in 300. Like I was like, okay, good. Like I was like, that was nice to know. Not that I really like am too phased by that, but it was good to hear that from them, you know?
Yeah, they've described you. Let me think if I have the quote correctly. I think it's a rock star in hip hop times. I think you've heard that. And I think that's totally suitable. And that makes me think of, there was an interview like 2-3 years ago when somebody was talking to Adam Levine from Maroon 5, and they were asking about rock stuff. And he was like, I don't know any kids in high school that like rock per se. And then that's when I felt like a grandpa, because growing up, I was the rare person who liked rock and hip hop in my school. It's kind of like you're either a skater or you're a hip hop guy. But what we talked about before, you've seemingly always been open-minded. So what I'm curious about is, what was the thing that made you open-minded? I'm assuming it's not Anthrax and Public Enemy. Like, that's before your time. Was it Limp Bizkit? What was the thing that crossed you between I like hip hop and country and rock?
Well, it wasn't, country's not in this one, but shouts to country. But Rage Against the Machine. That was like, oh shit, like it's going hard. He's still cutting up in the flows. Like it's heavy. It's brash. Like, but really, like I don't know. I feel like just realizing and like maybe studying like Rick Rubin a little bit and just kind of realizing like it really doesn't matter. And it's like it's cool to talk about. I love talking about it, and I get hung up on it sometimes. But like it's irrelevant almost. Like if it's getting through to you and it's making you feel something, like even the most hip hop dude is gonna want to be a part of that. And if it's a an emo white dude with the tightest pants ever who's just like and Gucci Mane gets through to him, like he's gonna want to be a part of that too. So it's like it's just this I don't know. It's like we're kind of just clearing the slate. That's what 2021 feels like to me, and it's refreshing, and it's nice to be someone who's like involved in that in some way. I don't think I've even like made a dent yet, but I think I'm going to. I know I'm going to. So
cool. Looking forward to seeing that, hearing that, etc. A person that has crossed over into your professional life, Carlos Santana. He's obviously spanned generations. If you listen to his stuff from the 80s, it does not sound anything like the 60s, doesn't sound anything like Smooth. He sounded like any other 80s dude in the 80s per se. But how did you connect with Carlos?
So someone from my previous label at Sony had just like on a whim sent out my record to his team, which is funny because it's not like they were playing the label game, but we were just kind of doing like all we knew, which was like, all right, you got like a dope, like hip hop-ish song, like let's get a rapper on it or something. Like we need a verse. And that's like, we were pitching those. And I was just like in the back of my head the whole time, I was like, oh fuck, like we're going to pay some dude like too much money for him to like phone in a verse. And it's like, it's just going to look corny and just feel like that. And then from the grace of God, like somehow it got to Carlos's team, or like Carlos had his antenna out and I had my antenna out, and like I get a call. It's literally, it was like probably 2 years ago in October. I remember I was doing Sober October. Sometimes I try to do Sober October.
Sure.
And just like, get my vibe on. And I was literally sitting here like meditating, and my boy calls me and he's like, you're not gonna believe this, but like, Carlos Santana wants to get on your song. Like, are you free the next day or two to like go up to San Francisco and go join him in the studio? I was like, this shit's real. I was like, this manifest shit is real. So yeah, I went up and got in the studio with him, and yeah, like you said, like he's a no boundary type character. Like he's working with young dudes just because he knows like life continues and like keep things fresh. And like he had more energy at like 72 or however old he is than like me and my boys. Like we were kind of like, oh my God, like we gotta like whatever this guy's on. So I got to I got to like pick his brain and like just talk to him about this and be like, yo, Carlos, like were you always like this? Like were you always this free, this open? And he was like, hell no. He's like, he studied under some guru for like 10 years. He was, he had a tough childhood, tough 20. Yeah. Like it was just refreshing for me to see as like a young buck. Cause it's like, a lot of times we're not happy with where we are. And we kind of forget that like, there's so much to go. There's so much to explore. And it's just kind of like, just so it's freeing, And so once you understand that, you're free. Like, yeah, it's good. It's good stuff.
I get what you're saying. Now, when you mentioned, I don't know what he was on, did you get to try his coffee? I've got some Santana coffee over here.
I have not. I've seen it. I know they got some weed. They got some coffee. I'm drinking some, it's this place called Sprouts. It's Jamaican. I don't know. It's Jamaican Sprouts.
Whatever gets you through the day. But I think you raise a really good point. about how open-minded Carlos is. I had an old friend of mine saw Carlos 2 or 3 summers ago, and he was excited to hear all the stuff from the 60s. And he left mid-show because he's like, I don't know why he has this rap stuff. Obviously an older gentleman. And you think about that, who has evolved better over time than Carlos Santana? A name doesn't come to mind for me. Like, you don't want to hear AC/DC doing mashups per se. You just want to hear them sound like AC/DC. But there's other artists where you do want to see them grow with the times, and props to Carlos.
He's so hip. He's so like he's still like a G. Like my friends who got to meet him and hang out with him, because we played a show in Vegas with them.
Yeah.
They were just like he's just that dude you just want to like kick it with, like on like a, like he's like the homie almost. Like it's crazy. But as from what you said, I mean, I think like Elton John might be in there. Like Elton John does some stuff. He did some stuff with My Boys Surfaces. Like he's staying tapped in. I think Ozzy Osbourne a little bit.
Sure, good point.
Sort of doing some stuff like that. But you're right. Like a lot of those dudes who have their lane, you know, they're taking that lane to the grave, and that's sweet. But I think it's dope that their old heads are like dabbling with the younger guys too.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens when that lap steel or the pedal steel gets to you and you've gotten super comfortable with it and it gets on a recording. But my last question for you has nothing to do with your great music, your great career. It's you personally, because you've been off like a lot of us have been off the past couple of years. What should we be watching on TV? You got any recommendations?
TV. Okay, a couple documentaries. I mostly watch music docs. I'm like hella late. Like I'm hella late to all the like I just watched Game of Thrones like recently. Like that shit's like 10 years old.
Yeah, my wife hasn't seen The Sopranos. This is normal.
yeah. I'm like I just the Leonard Skinner documentary is so fire. Like I obviously knew a little bit about Leonard Skinner, like cool, but there's some mystical ass shit that went on with them, and like their plane crashed into a swamp, like these dudes from Florida, and like they're like on like another level. Like it was some crazy shit. So the Leonard Skinner doc is dope. The Bee Gees documentary, super dope. I think that really hit me because they had to like reinvent themselves like 5 or 6 times. Like, like they would be the biggest thing in the world, and then like the lamest thing. Like if you said the Bee Gees name, it's like, get the hell out of here. And I just think that's like, it's just a good reminder to not use the world or humanity as your meter for, you know, if you're doing things right, you know, like it's going to not click. It's going to click. It's going to keep going. Like same shit with Bob Dylan when he did like, when he brought out electric guitars and stuff, like shit happens, and like, just take it light. So I'm here for the long run, and I'm just like keeping in mind the history, because I want to know these things. And I'm so lucky that I get to watch like documentaries of people who have like already been through a journey. Like if my journey is even like a quarter of like how epic theirs was, like I'll be happy. But like it's so dope that we get to see on TV and Netflix or whatever, like these, like it's like living, watching them live again. It's crazy.
Well said. Well, I'm looking forward to the new music. Do we know the release date or target month for your album coming out?
Yeah, baby, it's this Friday, October 22nd. So I don't know when this interview is going to drop, but it'll probably already be out by the time, you know, whoever's watching this sees it. So Young Fell 2 is out now. It's out everywhere. There's a video for my song Bones. It's probably my favorite video I've ever put out. So go watch the Bones video, and yeah, man.
Bones and Fast Car, it's all on YouTube. It's all great. Well, thank you so much for your time, and hope to see you live in New York in the near future.
Appreciate you, brother. Take care.
Paltrocast.